We're live now. We're live.
Good morning,
Like,
everyone. How are you this morning? It's the middle of the week or the start of the week, whichever way you want to look at it. And I know I pause daily reflections, but I'm having a special episode right today because I have the wonderful Sapna Bhavnani right here. Hi, Sapna. How are you?
yes,
How are you doing?
I'm okay. This word live has been something I've been running away for 3.5 months. Every time people say, go live, go live, go live. Finally, I said, you know what? I think that it's time for me to come live. So thank you for doing that with me. You and I go way back in our activism and in everything in general. So it's wonderful to break my live virginity with you, Elsa, in COVID
So,
times. Not always. I'm just saying, yeah.
I always find it very hard to describe you because people love one line descriptors, and you are such a versatile personality. So I put some of the things that I note over here. So you're
Yeah.
an entrepreneur with Mad or What? You're a writer, you're an activist, you're a filmmaker, but you are so many things. And I am so thrilled because though this segment is only 30 minutes, I think we can speak for hours and hours on all the great things that you have done. So, first of all, I want to ask you, how have you been, dealing with COVID 19, and what has kept you sane and healthy?
When COVID first started, I started by volunteering because I was like, I can't sit at home, even though, as you can see, my two flatmates, Alice, and my three cats, it's wonderful to have them around. But I'm not that sit at home kind of a person and petrified. So I just started volunteering, and you're doing the same with Khana Chahiye. So, started off straight there. So, for 1.5 months when we were in COVID, I was volunteering. But then finally in May, I kind of took a little break because I think it was kind of started to get to me. As strong as you think you are, and I feel like being alone in a situation like this definitely will get to you after a while. So it's almost 3.5 months now that my salon has been shut, that I've been sitting in my apartment alone. Of course, now I've been starting to go out, see family, because I can't believe I'm actually like telling my family members, please meet me. I love you. They're like, what happened to you? you know? But it's been very difficult. It's been very difficult, especially in the last I would say week or 10 days. Especially, I don't know. It's just come all crashing down. I think a lot of my friends are also going through a lot of issues, and in a way they always look up to me to talk to, but I felt for the first time incapable of kind of talking to anyone. I don't know if that makes sense. I've been very in my own head, and so it's nice to talk to you. Actually, this is kind of like me, Elsa, please talk to me because I also need someone to talk to. Alice and Alice are not helping anymore, nor my cats. My cats are like, get out of the house already, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's difficult, and a lot of people don't really say that because especially activists, people like us, because we are so used to that line, you're so strong. So then you believe, okay, if I'm so strong and if I say I'm not, then there comes your image crashing down. I actually did this whole hair show last year called Strong is the Weakest Mask. And I truly believe in it. It's a mask that we all wear, so people don't think that we are weak. Not that weak is a bad word, and not that strong is a great word. These are just words. So I am trying to follow my own art project that I had started last year. I made these masks out of hair, And actually, I've been wearing them at home now and reminding myself how strong is the weakest mask. And it's really okay to come crashing down and let people know that even you need some time out, man. Time out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Sapna, people look at you and they see this really strong woman, very outspoken. Some may call you aggressive, some may call you abrasive. But I know you're one of the kindest people out there. You're one of the first to step out and say, I can help you. Khana chahiye. I remember at the start of the crisis, you called me up and you said, Elsa, what is it that I can do? And I was like, okay, I'm also struggling. What can I do? And then we both found an opportunity through Khana Chahiye. And it was simple things like, you know, packing meals in packets and then sending them out onto the food runs. So thank you for that. You've always been an activist. And I do understand what you're saying, that first you have to take care of yourself before you can even begin to start taking care of others. So the time out would have really helped. I
Sure.
wanted to ask you, more importantly, you've been doing this for a long time. You've actually been on the streets fighting for justice in all forms. It's not only on the issue of gender equality, but on all different topics for a very long time. Where do you get that energy from? Where do you get that inspiration, that inner motivation, and your inner compass from?
I think it's definitely maybe my father. I don't. I think that he inspired me a lot when I was growing up. He didn't really put me in a category. I wasn't a woman or a man. I was. I mean, he just raised me as a storm. And he was just like, "You are tufan. Just go and conquer all." So I feel like when you have so much trust from someone who just kind of didn't put you in a box of anything at all, sexuality, gender, anything. Like nowadays, people are just dividing themselves by so they can think of anything to divide themselves, and we're multiplying and dividing and multiplying and dividing. But at the same time, what we're really letting go is that individual that we are, and everyone is different, and you can't just keep on putting people in groups, and this is that group mentality and herd that keeps on breeding. So I think that one thing that I have learned is always just be yourself, and whatever that is, just stick by that. And that's what I've been since I was a kid, like at 13, riding a motorcycle in Bandra. And before that, taking like air guns to school at Petit, or stealing chloroform bottles and using it on my dad because I saw it in a Hindi movie and it really works, So I feel like just kind of being yourself has just been the most important thing for me. And also expression, self-expression is very important, and I think my dad never stopped me from it. Like, I think 13 or 14, I had a shaved head. Growing up in Bandra, women didn't have shaved heads. Now that was in the mid 80s. So that was quite fabulous that you had someone who just were like, okay, all right, whatever. So I feel that's why parents really need to do that with their children. You don't realize, even when they're little, but your influence is really, really, really appreciated when they grow up. And when we talk about Indian men, also, it's when they are born and when they're raised, their upbringing and how you treat them. And I'm really sorry to say that, but like that Indian mom syndrome of like protecting my Raja Beta, like I don't care what you go out and do, you're made of gold. And this is really destroying a lot of the movement that happens in India. And I think that this really needs to be looked at. when it comes to moms themselves and how they harbor patriarchy in so many ways and unaware. I mean, I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose or anything. I'm just saying that this is a quality that we really need to look at, you know?
You are someone who cannot be put in a box. So whoever tries to put you in a box, there's no box big enough or square enough or rectangle enough or circular enough or any kind of shape for you, because you just have this larger than life personality and you cannot be contained in any way. So good luck to them. But this whole idea of trying to put people into a box, trying to control them, trying to manipulate them, trying to, put a lid on their ambition. You've
Yeah,
been the brunt of it in many ways, right? And,
yeah,
when you were growing up so you had support from your family, but maybe the larger society did not really accept you. And
yes,
often a woman like you or a girl like you, I can imagine a girl like you, is often seen as an invitation to
yes,
violence, an
yes,
invitation to teach her place. So,
yes.
how have you dealt with this? And I know you've spoken about a lot of your different experiences with abuse and violence and harassment. And now we are beginning to have these conversations where we are telling people a girl has every right to go out and have a good time, and that's not an invitation for you to assault her. Or, for example, a woman can live and lead her own life. You're an independent woman, you run your own business, you have your own financial money. You can spend it any which way, you can lead your own life. So, why should somebody dictate terms to you? Why can't it be mutually acceptable, come to a compromise, have some rules of engagement, right? So
Yeah.
can you share a little bit about these experiences of yours, if you don't mind? Because it really helps with when we tell our stories to encourage others to come forward.
Yeah. It's like you say that, no one can put me in a box, but I think that somewhere I just kept on thinking, maybe am I just putting myself in that box? And like, is this something that I'm doing to myself? And, when you constantly are faced with violence, you start questioning yourself, forget society. You start saying, why am I attracting this kind of violence? It's no secret about my sexual violence. I don't want to talk about it too much because in COVID times, if I have to even deal with that box, it'll I don't think I'll be able to kind of get past it. But like even with domestic violence, it's just been recurring for me. And like, yeah, with my ex-husband, when and it's constantly been, even though I walked out of that relationship and I, never saw my ex-husband again. And that's when I was like, was a woman like me just beat up? I mean, that was the biggest realization that I had to like, what? So imagine if someone like me who's out there and thinking I'm so brave and all of that went through that. So imagine the other women that are going through that are not even voicing it out, and all this was like kind of fine. And then I got into this other relationship. And this guy had a pattern. And now this again, these are red flags that we really, as women, really need to look at, that we really ignore because we are in love and this is what happened. I was told that, I was warned that he, beat up his ex-girlfriend. Don't go there. I was warned by the ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend, who's a friend of mine. Told me, dude, I just know the kind of things this guy has done to this girl. Just back out. Don't get into this. That girl, his ex-girlfriend, even came and assaulted me in a public place, yeah. But you just feel like, okay, but I'm in love, and maybe these people are just lying, and this is really not it. And you just get through life thinking love will take you through. but I feel like it has taught me so much. And just going through counseling lately and understanding that it is not my fault. How much ever I'm like, trying to understand, am I attracting this? Because it's normal for a person to kind of just think that, but it's not. Yes, maybe I should have listened to those flags, and that's why I encourage men and women. It's not just a woman thing or man thing, but if there are flags of a person that you're dating who has been violent with the past and isn't has a problem with alcohol, these are flags. You should listen to these flags. And however tough it must be because you're in love, you gotta learn to walk away. And I'm this Shushant kind of going away has kind of triggered so much in me, Elsa. I've just gone inward in many ways in my own life. I spoke to a counselor, and just blaming myself. I know that I'm not the kind who would commit suicide, but I also know what is that kind. There is no kind. And this is what we try to do, right? We try to say, oh, Shushant was so intelligent, so he could not have killed himself. Are you saying intelligent people do not suffer from depression? I mean, this is something myths that we need to kind of break. People deal with depression. They can be geniuses, they can be non-geniuses, they can be an actor, they can be a sport boy, they could be a hairdresser, they could be a producer, they could be an artist, they could be a housewife, they could be anyone. So no job or no caste, or there is no level of people that do not deal with these things. So this is something that we really need to kind of move forward from. And see flags, we need to see flags when people tell you I need to talk, when people are upset. If you're a friend, see those flags. I'm lucky now. I have friends. I have just thrown myself at them, and you're one of them, Elsa. I mean, this talk is doing so much more to me than I think any other talk could have. But flags are very, very important. Many years ago, I had a friend, Shivraj. I was not really that close to Shivraj, the most smiling person you ever met. And everyone just was like, he's just like if you Googled happy, his photo would come up. And Shivraj did commit suicide. And he actually tried to reach out to me to talk. And back then, I wasn't really that friendly to him. So I was wondering, why are you wanting to talk to me? I didn't understand, and I was constantly like, yes, yes, we'll meet, we'll meet. And when this happened, I just realized that sometimes it's probably easier for someone to talk to a stranger who they're not very close to and kind of pass that judgment, and maybe your best friend will not get it or just judge you. And like, people keep on telling me, you're too nice. My friends always tell me that maybe you should not be too nice, but isn't nice a good thing? Like, why should I stop being a nice person because someone is taking advantage of that? Shouldn't you actually not take advantage of a nice person? It's the other way around, right? So by telling me I'm too nice and telling me maybe you should not be so nice is not how I want to go about living. I want to be myself. And actually, people who take advantage of nice people, they are the ones who need to change. Not, not people who are just out there like, hi, I'm here to help. So I'm also learning quite a lot, but I'm finding solace in strangers more than I am in friends. And there are so many people that reach out to me on social media. And to be honest, I'm telling them how I feel far more freely than I would to anyone. So I don't know. These are just flags. Flags are just important in all. all kinds of things. Yeah.
Thank you, Sapna. I think it's very important. So, when you share your story and you explain to people what are these red flags and why it is important, people will then start to look around you. You may think it's intuitive, but it's not, because we are socially conditioned to believe that whatever's happening to us is our fault. And
Yeah.
more so because we are women, so we are trying to do our best, but it's not working out. And we are being told, okay, you didn't do enough, you were not good enough, things like that. So paying attention to flags, going with your gut instinct, honing that gut instinct,
Yeah.
educating yourself about abusive behavior, and then finding a circle of support. So, for example, friends. I receive a lot of calls as well. I also talk to a lot of people because as a human being, you are also overwhelmed with a lot that's going on. Um, I do know Sushant's, death has triggered a lot of depression and a lot of anxiety amongst folks. And we have a safe circle, a safe space, just a listening space. It's not a webinar. Nobody will preach to you. Just listen and share if you wish to, and just get in touch with your emotions. Because one of the things that I'm hearing from you, and Pearl Mesquita on our Facebook group says, try and feel what is not being said.
Yeah.
So when you said Sushant looked happy, he was nice, he had everything going for him. I had a colleague like that in aviation, my batchmate, who committed suicide. But when you thought of it, he had everything going for him. And for 6 months, I couldn't sleep just thinking what a waste of that life. I mean, like, he to me was, going to be one of the stars. But I don't know what happened. And we cannot assume, and we are not in that person's shoes, so we cannot really judge for them. So all that you've said, I agree, and I think people should reach out. And I'm saying that I'm there for you. Call me, and if you wish for a community, we have Safe Circle every Friday, so you can log
I'm
in over there.
there. I'm there for that. But no, really, it's been wonderful just to talk. I'll tell you a small story. When I was doing Nirbhaya, the play, and I used to go on stage and share my story of sexual violence, I thought it was really therapeutic. I thought that it was actually helping me on a daily basis to go on stage and reenact the violence that had happened to me. But after a while, I realized that I was getting raped every day on stage. And is that really healing, or is that going triggering the same thing over and over again? And this was something I was figuring out by myself. And one day I was in Dublin, and I remember I was on stage. And when I finished, there was a woman waiting for me. And I came out, and she told me, she didn't know my name. Couldn't pronounce my name. She was an Irish woman. And she told me, when I saw you on stage, I just know, I can tell that your innards are rotting and you are getting sick from the inside, and you need to stop doing this. This is not helping. You think you're helping the world by sharing your story on stage, but it's killing you. And just to see someone from the audience who felt what I was actually feeling and connected through my insides, not just that face I was putting on the outside, just confirmed to me that she saw my flag. And that was it. Got out of the play and I didn't go for another tour. Dublin was my last tour. I did a lot of counseling after that, did a lot of yoga. It's the only way it took me 3 years to get out of that. 3 years. So my insides are beginning to rot again. I'm feeling that. And I think that just keeping in tune with your own body, and when you feel that, you can feel. And when you do, it's like time out. You need to take care of yourself. So that's where I am right now. Self care. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up mental health and counseling, because just like you would take care of your physical self, you should take care of your mental health. And being in tune and reaching out to a counselor is definitely part of it. So thank you for doing that. And thank you, Sapna, for reaching out and saying you wanted to do this. I know talking also helps.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elsa. Really appreciate this, really.
Sapna, I wanted to ask you about your creative side. So, all this passion, all this energy that you have, whether it is positive or negative, I have seen you put to a very positive use. So, whether it is your filmmaking, your writing, I remember at one point you had a column in one
Yeah.
of the newspapers, and I used to read it. I always used to wonder, who's this woman, because she writes exactly like I think. You know, I remember there was this one time where I don't know what it was, during the floods. I think
Yeah,
you
I
went.
started a taxi service and I was giving people lifts who were just stuck. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that. It was
yeah,
during the
yeah.
floods and also during the bomb blast, the train blast.
Yes, yes. Which is why I said you're not a one-time activist. You have consistently stood up for what is right, put yourself out there. So when I feel this creative side of you, whether it is even your hairstyling, the captain of the Indian team had a great personality change when you gave him his haircut. Okay, so
I
let's
miss
start with
him,
the
yeah.
positive. Tell us about
Yeah.
MS Dhoni and your relationship with him, because we are all envious when you take those pictures with him.
I know, and I just tweeted about him today. I just said because this whole Sushant thing, and then just with Mahi, and so I just tweeted today. I really miss you, yeah, because I had this picture of both of them. We were doing an ad, and both of them are wearing the same T-shirt because he was working on the film, right? So he was just trying to be Mahi. So in a way he was so cute. Yeah, I related to him so well. So with Mahi, what a lot of people already know about him. He is just the most amazing person. There really is. And someone like me, who is so headstrong, I will not handle attitude. That's why I don't work with anybody else. Insecurity is something that I can't really handle for a very long time. So when this guy came along and he's just, do you know, I have been shooting with him. Let me give you a small little trivia, okay? 2006. So 2020 makes it 14 years now. I've been working with Mahi. And in 14 years of shoots, we must have done a gazillion million ads, whatever. He has never seen the mirror. I don't even carry a mirror to show him on set what he looks like, which is what everybody does like 100 times. He has never seen a take of himself to see how he did, how he looked. He doesn't have a better profile. He has never told me what to do with his hair. He just told me one thing, and I think that puts him in perspective in general. He says, Sapna, if I don't look good, you don't look good.
Pressure, pressure.
So imagine and so imagine the kind of philosophy this guy works under, even with the team. It's like he carries it because he knows that if the team looks good, he will look good. It's never the other way around. It's not if I'm good, the team is good. So this is what I'm trying to tell you about this guy, how he knows responsibility is shared and no one can preach it to someone. So he's never told me, oh, Sapna, what do you think, I should look like this, or do you think my hair should be this? Not once. So zero vanity. And hence I have stuck with him for 14 years. And I told him, when you retire, I will retire because I can't see my career going with anyone. I get so emotional, but I can't really foresee myself with anybody else. He's just such a great role model, and that's another thing that we don't have enough of, role models. And especially a role model like him who's so silent.
Yeah.
And that's maybe what we need. Some role models who are silent, and you don't have to let us know everything that you're doing. He's silent on Instagram, he's silent on Twitter, he's silent on, but when something he says, that's it, you know? And I really admire that, because with social media, and I'm also guilty of this, we feel the need to vomit so much. In a way, it's therapeutic for us. I'm not trying to put down anybody who's doing that. It's therapeutic for a lot of people now to do that, but maintaining that little bit of mystique, that's what fans used to do, right? In the beginning, when we didn't know what our stars were doing, we used to try to stop them in any way. Like, oh my God, where is he or she now? What is he or she doing? Now it's so easy. You can just go check their stories, this, that, everyone knows what's happening. But with Mahi, that mystique is still there. And I think maybe that's why his following is so immense. We just don't know. He's like that mystery, and I'm really glad to have shared 14 years with that mystery, and maybe one day I will write about it.
But, but Sapna, thanks first of all for sharing that trivia. But he stuck with you for 14 years, so I'm sure he got equally out of the relationship as much as you did. So
Well,
that's
thank you.
testimony for you.
Yeah, it
So
is. When you see someone's career broken up with their hair, as a hairstylist, I think that whenever we talk of Dhoni, people are like, this year, this year, this year, it's all hair. So for me, there's no greater resume. I don't even have a resume. I don't have a show reel. All I say is Google Dhoni. That's it.
but you're more than a hairstylist. So you are also, filmmaker, and not just a filmmaker. Now I would say even a historian in a way, because you embarked on this journey to find your roots. You're a
Yeah.
Sindhi, and Sindh is in Pakistan,
Yes.
and you decided some years ago that you wanted to understand your roots. So can you
Yes.
share a little bit about that and your tattoos, because you've
Yeah.
actually inked your whole body with the story of your heritage. So I
Yes.
want to know more about it. I've seen those tattoos, but
You saw the film also. Uh, I mean, it's been such a wonderful, wonderful journey. Like grandmothers, we don't pay attention to their stories when we're little, and fair enough, we have other things to do, yeah. But as we get older, we realize how much importance those stories are. And when I just saw this concert and I saw these synth fakirs perform for the first time, now it was almost 10 years ago. I was so blown away by what I saw. I just ran home and I Googled Sindh. I was like, what? Who are these people? What? And that musician, ex-boyfriend of mine, God bless him, because he told me, that's where you're from. Do you know that? And when I saw Abida Parveen, when I Googled Sindh and I saw Abida, my whole life I thought Abida was a Pakistani Sufi singer. No, she is a Sindhi Sufi singer. I did not know that. And I take so much pride in that. And it was music who got me on this journey of making this documentary of people need to know about Sindhis besides the fact that we are Kanjus. Okay, fine, but you need to, there are lots of books, but there's no film, there is nothing. My history books didn't tell me anything that I learned on this journey. And it took me 2 years to figure out, okay, how do I tell you this story of sin? I don't want to tell you what Google is telling you. I mean, you have all this. How do I tell you? And then I remembered this conversation with my nani. I was in America, and when I'd come back, my back was tattooed and my arm was starting to get tattooed. And I went to lunch with her, and I was sitting there all shy. And she just looked at me and she was just like, she just knew, and she said, when we first came on this planet, not Sindhis also, just as tribes, we all lived as tribes. We were extended families. There were no governments or boundaries or countries or borders. And she said, we were all known by our markings and our piercings. And when I look at you, I see you going back to your roots, our roots. and that makes me really happy. So when she told me that, it was evident that I was going to tell the story of sin through tattoos and go back to my roots in the truest of forms. And when they didn't give me a visa to visit Sindh, um, I decided, you know what, I'll just become Sindh. So the stories are on my legs. Wait, let me try to stand up. Hold on. Maybe you'll be able to see it. Can you see?
Yeah.
Wait, can you see Sindh? Can you see
Yes.
it? Yeah.
Yes.
That's where it starts from, and then it, of course, goes on my entire legs. So, uh, please watch the film. The film is online. It really supports independent, producers and directors like me. We have put in everything into this film. We'll never make it back. But go to moviesaints.com. They are wonderful platform for indie filmmakers. They really support us. I would really appreciate it. It's not just for Sindhis, it's for people everywhere, worldwide. See the film. It's about your roots. It's something that's so important that you don't understand when you grow up and how you are actually connected to them. Yeah.
Now, you were never a filmmaker before this, or were you a filmmaker? And tell us a little bit about how did you start on this filmmaking journey, which started before Sindustan, is what I
Yeah.
gather.
Yeah.
And like how how do you even get the courage to do all these things? I'm like, my little extension of my skill set is doing something like this, learning how to do a live cast and
But
struggling
this
with
is
tech.
amazing. I have to learn this from you. I mean, I feel like music, like I said, music has led me into everything I am today. I started with music videos, and there was this wonderful woman who wrote this. I think the best piece article that has ever been written about me, called "The Mad Barber of Bandra." And she wrote this around some 7, 8, 9 years ago on, I think, CNN. I'm not too sure. And in that, she started by. So I decided to take Madawatt hair and make an extension of Madawatt Productions. And the money I was making from here, same thing what I'm doing today also, even with my production house, Akbar Paints, taking the money from Madawatt and supporting this. But my goal is now, from music videos, I moved into short films. From short films, I moved into, helping produce a feature. And now Hindustan has been like I think my biggest achievement so far. For 10 years, journey come to an end. I'm working on my next film now, called My Dog Is Sick. And like I was telling you, it is a story of how dogs can be unconditional, uh, and love you, but when provoked, that dog can also bite. And it's a lovely story, very metaphorical. It's based on, not just my story. There are stories of a lot of people who have been that dog, in one stage of another of their lives. The fabulous Rajshri Deshpande and Anshuman Jha are the two actors in this film. So I'm very excited. It's in post production. So let's see. I'm also working on another one where now I'm going to start collaborating as a producer. I have a story which I'm going to have another person direct, and I will just produce it. So these are wonderful avenues I'm getting into. I'm using my writing skills from being a columnist to writing my book, which HarperCollins. Thank you for being so wonderful. I'm 3 years late, but it's coming. It's coming, HarperCollins and Kanishka, my agent. Sapna, is your book gonna happen this year? I'm like, dude, I need material. Think of it as life is happening, and when this book comes out, it's gonna be fabulous. So HarperCollins has stuck by me for 3 years. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. So imagine using these skills of writing, activism, using films. There is no better platform than filmmaking for activism. it goes out to the world. So I'm actually now understanding how you can use these platforms to become an activist and take it to the next level. So this is where I'm headed with my activism. Is called the wonderful world of filmmaking. So I hope I can tell a lot of stories, not biased, because I don't believe in that. And I don't believe in calling myself a woman director, because I think a director has no gender. Stories should have no gender, and they should be fluid. And that's what I aim at, telling you fluid stories.
And my last question, actually not my last question, but I was super inspired by you, and maybe I might follow suit. You married yourself, so I want to know why and what inspired you to do that. And I really think it is something that many people should think of doing.
I think after having so many failed marriages, also you come to that conclusion. Not that I was never married to myself to begin with. I think I'm. I used to be not so much, but I was very in love with myself, and I took it to another level when it came to ego. I had a really big ego when I first came to India, and I became big too fast, only because of the way I looked. People started putting me in all newspapers. I didn't really, no one talked of my talent. Like, excuse me, I'm a talented person, hairdresser, columnist, but people were like, oh, look at the way she looks and her hair, and only wrote about me from that shallow perspective. And somewhere that shallow perspective did get into my head. My ego was out of control. I was actually rude to people, not my co-workers though, never. My co-workers are my family, and that they've always been my support. But when it comes to being on shoot, I had a little chip on my shoulder, like, oh, I'm the star hairdresser here, yeah. And when I finally realized that that was all bullshit, and that had to go because that was not me and that was rubbish, is when I decided now I could marry myself, because it was the true self, it wasn't the ego self. And that's when I started that project of marrying things, not just people, things that I was committed to, because that's what marriage is, right? Love, respect, and commitment. That's what they tell you. So I felt things, places, people that I felt these emotions with, I would get married to. So I started with myself, but I even got married to my craft. I got married to my cat. I got married to my friend Shivraj, who passed away. I stood on his bench and I got married to him. So it's important. These words are not just for someone you legally share your lives with, but these are words that you can share with anything. You can share with your cup of tea, which I am now very committed to, because without it I cannot start my day. So the love and respect and commitment I have for my tea is immense. So I'm just saying, it does not have to be a person. It can be anything. And I think we need to understand that. And I have learned that through yoga. Even that switch, when I turn on a switch, I don't aggressively hit it. I'm very gentle. Because even that switch has feelings and emotions. So I feel coming from that space where everything, just be gentle to everything, is has been very helpful for me.
So, what would
Like,
be your advice to your 16-year-old self?
oh, don't change a thing. Whatever you did is responsible for where you are today. And I love where I am today. I completely love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. So at 16, everything that you did, the chloroform experiment, the motorcycles, the boys, the not being a virgin, the everything is where you are today. So thank you, 16-year-old self. Thank
Well,
you.
this was so much fun. Thank you, Sapna, for coming on this show, for reaching out and saying, I'm ready. Can we have it? And so we have this special episode today. So thank you for sharing
Thank
your
you.
reflections.
No, but thank you because you constantly always invite me, and then I constantly just don't reply because I'm like, no, because I don't want to say no, so I won't reply. And I've just been really enjoying my downtime also in a way during this COVID time where I don't want to show myself. I want to be the way I am. But you know what? I can still do that and still be live. So thank you. Maybe I won't go live again during COVID, and this will be my only live session. But thank you for also always being persistent and knowing when someone needs to talk and giving them that platform.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So I have an exclusive with Sapna Bhavnani. So
I have an exclusive with Elsa.
if you didn't catch it, I would very highly recommend you rewind from the start and watch the whole thing because we've talked about several things, and you have to listen to this wonderful lady. So thank you, Sapna, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you.